Greetings, everyone. I believe we are live now. Thank you for joining us. I'll give it a few seconds for people to trickle in. I'm really excited today. We've got a really good guest. We are here with Kimberly Eallonardo, and I'll talk about her in 1 second. I'll just do some quick chiming in. For those that are in here now, if you want to ask any questions, if you have any comments or anything like that, and I'll remind people as we go along, feel free to throw those questions into the chat. We'll get to them at some point in the conversation. Great. And if you're watching, if you're enjoying the content, and you want to throw a tip our way, that's great. It helps the channel move along. Also, we've got merch on the channel now too. If you want some t-shirts or stuff, holidays are coming up and whatnot. So let me tell you about our guest today. I'm really excited. She's another person who, like me, was in the forks over knives success stories, but her story is really unique because for those who have listened to our lives before, a lot of people that come in with a significant weight loss story in terms of eating whole food, plant-based, and how that helped them. Kimberly's got an entirely different entry point. You know, she is someone who was very physically active, ate what she assumed was a very healthy diet, and yet her body still was not happy with her. She literally went through hell to the point where she was in a wheelchair, and as she said in her Forks Over Knives article, resigned to watching her kids grow up from the couch because she was so incapacitated. Now, without spoiling what's coming, you know, Kim has a pretty amazing transformation story, one that went from this incredible rock bottom to now being a health coach and helping others to heal. So please stick around for what I know is going to be a truly inspirational discussion. No pressure, Kim. And if you have any questions along the way, hit us up in the chat, and I promise we'll get to as many as we can as we go along. But first, before I just go on and on, I'd love to bring Kim in to tell her own story. Welcome, Kim.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I know people are going to have a lot of questions. So again, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But I mean, one of the things that really struck me in reading your story was how, you know, you were on medications starting at the age of 12, I think the article said. So what was that like? Tell me about that. Like, you know, you're just starting life at that point and where it went from there.
Right. So everyone hears about the kidney disease and the MS, and that's not what started when I was 12. The reason I was sharing that part of that in my story is because there was all these indicators that something wasn't right. 12-year-olds aren't supposed to get migraines. You're not supposed to have shingles when you're 14 or 16, however old I was. All these little things. And every time there was something wrong, of course, my mom took me to the doctor. And every time it was another medication and another medication and another medication. And I was on those chronically. So that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. What were some of the medications they had you on at 12? Do you remember them?
Oh, gosh.
It's okay if you don't.
They're used for anxiety and depression, but they also help with migraines. So that was one of the first ones. Oh, amitriptyline. That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they were kind of just treating you like a bit of a guinea pig, because I'm sure most doctors with a 12-year-old coming in going, I don't know, let's try this.
Yes. By the time I was in my 30s, I was probably like 35, still going to the neurologist. And at that point, she literally went, well, you've been through my book. It's like, meaning a book of medications. It's like, oh, great. That makes me feel good.
My wife had a very similar her body just kind of, I don't want to say gave up on her, but she started, everything was rejecting and made her feel sick. And she was working with a naturopath, and even they were she ended up having to go to a new naturopath because as much as she loved that one, they were like, I'm out of ideas and I haven't helped you yet. You need to go to somebody else and see if they can. And it took her like almost 8 years before she finally got it kind of under control.
Yeah.
So I noticed, like, I can only imagine yours is a much more invasive story, but I can only imagine. I can empathize with your husband anyway, knowing what it's like to be on the sidelines watching someone just like watch their body kind of, as my wife described it, her body like betray her and not know what to do despite like doing all the things. Because what you said this, like you were physically active and you ate what you consider to be a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. So I grew up, well, at the time when I was younger, no one knows that Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Puffs and all those things aren't good for you. And they're marketed to our parents, like, this is it. This is what everyone's doing. It's on the billboards. This must be right. And then
the word fruit and the Fruity Pebbles really went a long way.
And so, yeah. And then you start going through the protein. You gotta have your protein. Don't eat carbs. And I'm like taking all this in just like everybody does. And it's like, that must be it because the general masses are saying it. So it's just this blind trust. And it didn't work out for me. But my thing is, I went through this phase of saying, my body's betraying me. My body's attacking itself. And I'm kind of on the complete opposite side now because it wasn't my body. I see things, and like the people I work with, they're waking up. I was waking up every day. My heart was still beating. My body's I'm still blinking. All these autonomic responses, they're still working. They're still trying hard. I was hurting myself through Cocoa Puffs, Fruity Pebbles, and keto diets, and paleo, and all these chemicals and pesticides, and I was doing it to me, and I didn't know it. I didn't know any better. So.
Yeah. And that's just through eating, I guess, for lack of a better term, the SAD diet, right? The standard North American diet, right? Because you went, I think you mentioned in that article too, you tried all the different fad diets, right? Like you just mentioned there, like you did paleo, you did keto.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that. They kind of morphed. They're all the same thing with just little twists to remarket them. But yeah, they're all.
Yeah. So walk me through, I think you mentioned it was like 8 years of like trying to find the solution and going through. So, walk me through as best you can, like that journey towards leading up to what it really was the issue. Cause I think, sadly, I think you're probably not unique in this. And there's other people out there that are having these challenges and these issues, and they don't know what it is. And so hearing other people go, oh, this was going off and that going off, can suddenly, hopefully not. Hopefully everyone else is great. But, someone watching this might go, oh, shoot, that sounds like what I'm going through right now.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So there's so much. And after these interviews, I tend to remember little things after. So try and.
That's okay. We can bounce around if we need to.
So it was really, I had always been sick. Like the migraines were the biggest thing. And then joint pain, horrible joint pain all the time. And every doctor's attributed it to, well, you're cheerleading, you're dancing, you're running and this and that. All right. Well, I'm not an Olympic athlete, but okay.
Yeah.
So, I was in pain all the time. Things like I had tics since I was very little. So actually it goes back way back. But anyways, I was through college, got my teaching certification, got married, had my 3 girls, and throughout my pregnancies were all high risk. I was having kidney issues then, and they didn't know. I was just in severe pain, and no one ever figured out the problem. But they also couldn't do a ton of testing. But
because you were pregnant,
right?
Yeah.
So by the time I had my 3rd daughter, I had this fatigue that was undescribable. So usually people will tell me now, oh, I'm tired. But in hindsight, I can kind of see how I probably sounded to somebody, because people think, oh, I know what it feels like to be tired. you don't know what this tired feels like. This is like there is sandbags weighted on like your heartbeat and your arms. It's like work to hold your head up level fatigue. It's not like after being tired after a hard workout. It's like undescribable. So that set in, and the migraines were getting worse. I was gaining weight, and I've always been thin, so this was like not normal for me. What else? Dizziness, constant vertigo.
I think I read somewhere you lost vision in one of your eyes as well.
Right. So that was closer to, that was in 2019.
Okay.
That was, I think, a result of all the fluid things that I don't understand eye health, but something was about to detach because there was so much fluid, and all of a sudden it was like everything was like jagged lines. I like couldn't see. I was like, oh my God, this isn't cool. So after I had my third daughter, I went to my doctor. I'm like, this isn't right. This is not normal. He said, well, let's test your iron. And he kept saying, it's low iron, it's low iron. Like, it's more than that. I'm telling you, I know you don't have it on the lab sheet, but there's something else. And so I was doing iron supplements and everything. It never helped. I ended up going to naturopaths and referred out to rheumatologists, neurologists, different ones. I lost count after like 18 different specialists. Eventually, they did diagnose me with like chronic fatigue. They thought I had lupus because I was getting rashes all over. And then they said, well, the meds aren't working, so we're going to do more testing. They diagnosed me with RA. And then I still wasn't getting better with all their drugs. And then it went to neurological Lyme, unless it was MS. No, it was neurological Lyme and then MS. And the MS came after a result of a spinal tap and MRIs. So throughout that time, there is so many medications out there, and I kept getting sicker. And during that time, I'm also trying these diets, and I think I'm eating clean and this and that, and nothing was working. So there's probably a bunch in there I'm forgetting, but
that's okay.
Finally got to a point where we had been to so many doctors, and I got my girls to school, and that's a whole other story. That was really hard. Got them to school, and I just lay down on my bed one day. I'm like, Joe, I can breathe, but it's like something's not right. I felt like something was standing on my chest. And so I had been to the doctor weekly at that point. And finally he called the doctor and he's like, you got to do something. She can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So she said, go to the ER. Maybe it's a bowel obstruction. And it wasn't. I had pleurisy in my lungs, a blood clot, had no idea was there. So it was in almost to that danger point in the upper part of your leg. And when we found out I had the kidney disease, I had, it's called focal segmental glomerular sclerosis. And then there's a whole bunch of other little things in there. There's like thyroid things and adrenal insufficiency. And
there's something else. I think I read the complex regional pain syndrome. Is that part of it too?
Yeah. So that was through all of this, towards the end, I developed a tumor on the back of my leg. So I was in my basement one night, I was stretching and felt something kind of snap. I was like, holy crap, that hurt. But then I was feeling my leg and there was this lump that never hurt before. But I went to the doctor and she said, this doesn't feel, or no, she thought it was a certain kind of cyst that just had to be drained. So we went, got some, can't even remember if it was a ultrasound or something else, but some sort of scan. And then they sent me to this other doctor. And then I kind of knew something wasn't right because you don't go to this doctor for what she was saying I had. And then it turned out they remeasured it again. It was a spindle cell tumor, and it went from like 2 centimeters to 9 centimeters in like 6 weeks. So it was really aggressive and fast growing. So they took that out right away. But the thing is, the perennial nerve wrap goes down the back of your leg and down into your ankle and your foot. And it was like coiled around that. So they opened up like this big like thing on the back of my leg and peeled it off. She said we peeled it off and we had to, clear the margins. So there's some muscle gone and this and that. Oh, and before that, he said, oh, you might have some nerve damage. This is like right before I go into the OR. And I don't know what that means. I just knew we had a tumor that was bad. But oh my God, it is like the most painful thing. I would rather give birth 5 times over than have that pain. But the strange thing is, after, they went through trying the stimulators that they put in you, so you can press a button and stimulate that nerve to get rid of the pain. None of that ever worked. But what did decrease it is when I switched everything. Even like plants have been so profound that it even helped with that severe nerve pain. So,
yeah. So getting into that. So, but part of this was also you got diagnosed with an advanced kidney disease.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that ultimately what like was leading to most of it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I had that question. I don't know, because when I asked my doctors that, they don't know. So I was.
But the solution ended up being, so now let's get, so that's all the awful stuff, obviously, right? And if anyone has any questions about that kind of stuff and Kimberly is comfortable talking about it, let us know in the comments down below about any details about that for people that are having their own issues. I know before we jump into the goods of it, I know someone asked me if you'd ever tried water fasting as part of the millions of things. Yep. I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I would never, ever, ever recommend that. And it's not just because it didn't go well with me. I can't tell you how many people I have talked to who have had these complex issues and saying they tried fasting and how bad it made them feel. And part of that is when you're fasting, it's insanely, insanely hard on the liver, number one. And when you're fasting, we're all loaded with all these chemicals and these toxins. And when you do that, you are releasing them so quick that you can't get them out quick enough. Your kidneys and your liver only excrete so much. You want to get it excreted through your urine or your bowels. But when it can't keep up with that, it's getting back into your bloodstream.
Right. And you need to flush it out.
Yes. But it takes time. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to do it that quick, because then your liver needs time. You're bringing in these chemicals. So when it comes into your liver's job is to add something to that chemical, to make it safe to be released from you. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it goes through 2 phases, but what's happening is that phase 2 gets blocked. So then there's like this trap door and it gets re-released back out. So even things like estrogen, before it's getting converted, it's getting let back out into you, and then you're getting all these symptoms. So if you are not super sick, some people love fasting. It's not something I would do even if you are healthy, because of the burden it places on your adrenals. Your brain needs that critical glucose. So your brain runs on glucose. Your muscles, they need the glucose, and you're depriving your brain of that, and that's going to affect everything else in your body. So, and then you get that your adrenals are pumping out hormones, and that's just putting you on this high. So that's another thing I'll hear people say is, I feel great. I had so much energy. I'm like, yeah, because you're releasing a boatload of adrenaline right now. But in the long run, it's hard
on your system.
Right.
Well, the same as the keto stuff, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, I feel so great when I'm on keto." It's like, yeah, but your body's not meant to do that for long term. It's a state your body goes into for a reason. It's a survival mechanism. You're not supposed to live in survival mechanisms.
No.
Yeah.
So,
So then walk us through your discovery of eating whole food plant based.
so I went to the hospital the first time. That was I was there 12 days. And then I got home, and my neighbor was watching my girls the day I came home. And her husband happened to have kidney disease, not like mine was, but he actually went to the same doctor I did too. It was interesting. But he had a dietitian or somebody there who said, yeah, protein's really hard on the kidneys. And so they told me what they do. I'm like, that's the one thing I didn't try. And my husband actually, he had watched that Force Over Knives documentary years before, and I kind of, that's nonsense. It was still like super brainwashed. And it is literally the one thing I didn't try. And so it's like, you know what, Joe, we've done everything. We've paid like $60,000 at this point between going to other states and naturopaths and lab testing. This is what we got to do. So I went to my nephrologist and said, I want to try this. If I try this, because he was telling me all the medications he wanted to put me on. And I'm like, I've been on that. I've been on something similar to that. This is what happened with this, and this. It's going to kill me. I didn't say you're going to kill me because I didn't want to offend him too bad. I said, but it's going to kill me. And I said, can I have 30 days or are my kidneys going to like shut down completely to try this? And there was those certain meds that I had to take to stay alive. So I did those and I didn't start the other ones. And I tried it, and it was in those 30 days COVID happened. So it was 6 weeks after that I did the lab testing, and his words were, Kim, I am shockingly surprised. He said, I would never, this was later. He said, I would have never had guessed. And then my next appointment, 4 weeks later, my numbers got even better. And I was up and moving around and off the couch. And he said, well, my hat's off to you with this unconventional approach. It's like
unconventional approach. Eating clean, healthy food is an unconventional approach in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Well, not the year 2000, but so what was that like? So you get your kind of sign off from your healthcare professional going, give it a shot. So you what's the first week look like? What are you clearing out? What are you doing differently?
I did it overnight. Gosh, I couldn't get off the couch. So it was my husband was just cooking everything.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, he was pretty kick-ass. I can't, he was amazing. But he was like shoving food down my throat. And in hindsight, I see that's part of what I needed, because it wasn't just an apple a day or some vegetables at night. It was my body needed that therapeutic dose. And that's what I'm seeing now. We need this therapeutic dose when we're in this level of disease. You not only need those foods to maintain yourself, you need more to actually restore and repair. So he was doing like Joe was, we learned how to cook without oil, or he did at first. And then he was doing a lot of like stir fry. And when I say stir fry, I mean water fry.
Yeah.
Like potatoes, we did potato salads without the dressings. It's also normal to me. I'm trying to think what's different for other people. Do you know what I mean?
True. That's true. I know. I go and I cook at other people's houses now, and you forget how much of this is just secondhand burned into us. And I'm like, oh right, you don't understand. You swapped out this and you swapped these things out. We're all just so used to it. It's funny.
Yeah. So
So
just loads and loads of, we tried like once I got strong enough, I was online a lot, and like I said, COVID was happening, so everything was shut down. I had time to try a bunch of different recipes, and I got like 5 or 6 that I really liked, and we'd rotate through those.
yeah. So how long from the time you started this to when you started to kind of like, I don't want to say felt like yourself again, because you went through this your entire life, but to the point where you're like, that energy depletion you talked about was kind of lifted to the point where you felt like a version of quote unquote normal?
I'd say 3 months, and that's stretching it. It might have been sooner. I
Right.
remember like 4 or 5 weeks later and especially at that 6-month appointment, because that's when my husband was like, I was starting to do laundry again and make meals and do more things with the girls outside. And he's like, you can't do that. You're going to get sick. I'm like, no, I'm feeling better. So definitely by 3 months, but I think 6 months or 6 weeks, it
Yeah.
was 80%.
I can only imagine there must have been, like, both for you and your husband, like some sense of like imposter syndrome where it's like, well, you can't, like, almost like a denial of the fact that it was working. Did you feel that? Or just relief?
No, um, you know, not the imposter thing. It's a lot of anger at first,
Mm.
like rage, because
It was such a simple solution and you never
and
tried it?
I mean, $60,000. We left our home. We built this forever home that we were going to raise our kids in because we were trying to pay for all these things. And it's like all these doctors are just like, no, you need a pill. You need a pill. And I'm saying, what, it has to be something different. What am I eating? Now I get it. Now I talk to them now and I'm like, we weren't trained in this. So I get it now, but
Yeah,
there was a lot of rage at the system and how it's set up.
I bet. Yeah. You
But,
can buy a lot of kale for 60 grand.
right? Some really nice gardens and
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I can't even imagine that. Like my story is very different. Mine was more of a weight loss thing. I never had any health issues that were pounding at the door. But even that, it's just like I know in the more conversations I have with people, they're always so shocked. And I hear the story over and over again, even when it's not even like your story, but it's weight loss related, with people just not like in shock of the fact, and their doctors in denial of like, well, that's not going to fix you. You need modern medicine will fix you, even though humans have been around for
right.
however long, and the majority of these health problems have come up in this last century when medicine has been more evolved, but really it's just fixing problems that the universe, the world can do a lot of it if we just know how to use this food as our medicine, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's not to say that um, that there isn't a place for it, because it can. I mean, it saved me at one point.
sure, for sure.
Irony is it got me there, but it did keep me alive while I was healing. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I was after I felt great, I was pissed.
That's a great quote. After I felt great about this. Yeah, I mean, the way I kind of like, I have my own feelings about kind of the health industry, especially when it comes around food, and I'm sure you're almost like the poster child for this. And just that sense of like, on one hand, there is so much great stuff, and and the doctors and hospitals do for us when we need them, but it's all like, I look at it like they're like the auto body repair shop for our bodies, right? It's like they're great when we're in trouble,
Hmm.
mostly, but it's like they don't know a damn thing about keeping us from getting that point, about the preventativeness and like how to get our bodies leading up so we don't actually need them, And the cynical part of me goes, well, they almost, I'm sure there's a good portion and percentage of that industry that doesn't want us to know that information or have that information, because then how do they make their profits, right?
Yeah,
How do they sell us the cure without the problem? Um,
exactly.
so yeah, so so And you also you're back up and running, and then there was something I read too about your daughter had some challenges too. And but before we get to that though, so as you're doing this, you have 3 young kids, right? Like how old are your kids around this period?
When I was I was
When you're
6
just
born. When I was going in and out of the hospital, that how old were they? 5th grade, no, 4th, 3rd, and 1st grade. Maybe, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So like 6, 7, 6, 8, and
yeah,
10 kind of thing.
yeah. It's
Oof,
I felt really bad for them.
I
Although it
bet.
was my motivation, honestly. I remember going to my one naturopath, and it was probably a year before everything. No, not quite a year before everything happened. And it was just one of those days where I was down and defeated, and I knew these meds and everything was making me more sick, and I was just trying to hold the tears back. I'm like, if I didn't have these girls right now, I know everyone else would be fine without me. I would just let this nature take its course because this is too hard.
Yeah, I
The
bet.
pain, fatigue, I'm looking at what I'm missing out on and everything. I worked so hard to build a career, and but I can't give up right now. So yeah, they kept me going. And then my husband just being a rock star and never wavering once. It's like, all right, I gotta keep doing this. Plus I'm insanely stubborn.
So how do the kids feel about the change in food around the house and conversations about food and whatnot? How did that go with that age group?
They're in the beginning, not so great. So I didn't transition them right away. But in the beginning, they're like, Mom, where's the chicken? It's like, we're just going to have extra rice and vegetables. And we'll be okay. But Mom, like, but what? You're fine. You're going to be full. So I did it slowly. There are certain things. Dairy, that never worked well for any of us. But that was definitely completely out. No more treats or cheating with dairy products. We started slow, and it was like over the course of 2 years at least. Then we slowly reduced the animal-based proteins, and then the things they really didn't like was everything that I thought was healthy, like all these bars that they have, like those Cliff bars for kids, and they don't have dairy and they don't have gluten, but they have all this other crap added that I think it was contributing to a lot of our issues.
Yeah.
So now, I actually, my one daughter, the one who is sick, she's very vocal. She doesn't have much of a filter, but when because you know how they have to teach health in school, and they're
Yeah.
teaching her about like corn and stuff, and she's like, "Well, Miss So and So, corn is not a vegetable; it's a grain." And her teacher just said, "You know what, honey, you're right. But in school we have to teach you this." But so she'll call you out with things like this.
But the teacher
Um,
admitted that in school we have to teach it wrong. That's so weird.
yes, school.
That's not what
Oh,
my pack says. That's not what the thing that they gave me to teach you says. So, ugh.
yeah. But Gracie says things like that all the time, and she'll
Good for her.
very openly say, "Well, we don't do this because da 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 da." And the other people, I think she's a kid, so they don't have much to say back. But they're good with it. My oldest is a little bit trickier, and I think part of that is because she started later on,
Mm.
and she's in that teenage years, and she doesn't want to look different. But she's coming along. But my
Yeah. I
other
mean,
two, especially Gracie with all of her health things, and seeing the drastic changes in me, and then seeing the drastic changes in her, they're definitely more on board with it, and they're asking for things. Like yesterday, Mom, can you make me some more celery juice? Okay, sure. Like, how many kids ask for that? It's like, all right, mom score.
well, it
Or
becomes what they get. they get used to, right? That's just it. Like we were, we come from the generation, we're on the same age, we were raised on, chips and pop and all that kind of soda,
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. So that became normal for us. That was the stuff you
right,
drank. Where it's
right.
like, if that's not normal, like our kids just don't have a different kind of normal than I had growing up for sure. And they
Yes.
still enjoy their stuff, that they either sneak in
Yeah.
or have for treats and whatnot. But it's amazing how after like a little bit of that, we still see them reaching for like an apple, carrot sticks, whatever it
Mhm.
is, on top of that, you know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
not something I would have done as a teenager.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. But it's
Well,
really
it sounds like you saved your daughter from the fate that you had growing up.
yes, yes. I'd say they all have their own little things. So Gracie is diagnosed with POTS and CIDP. She is on the spectrum. She's very high functioning, severe eczema. She was diagnosed with pediatric migraines at age 4. She was in preschool, so it might have even been younger. But she used to sit, I mean, she was barely in school. 4 out of 7 nights of the week, you have pictures of her just sitting in the bathroom, hovering the toilet with her head on it, like laying on it. Like she was just weak and fatigued, and then all of the sensory things. We couldn't touch her. There's this one moment just stands out so much because it was like killed my heart because I went to hug her because she didn't feel good, and she just so you couldn't touch her because it hurt her.
It hurt to hug. Oh,
Yeah. And just the vertigo and the room spinning. And she loves her gymnastics, and there was a period of time where she had to quit, and that was awful for her. But she sees the difference, and she actually craves these foods. And she'll say, "Mom, I think I need some more sugar." And when we say sugar, we mean it from like apples and strawberries and things. So she can feel it in her body now. It's pretty cool.
yeah. Well, I think all of us could if we learned to listen to our bodies, right? And I think like, people like your kids and us who, eat cleaner diets, like I know that. I know when I need a little extra grain in my diet, when I'm feeling like I just need for that energy or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
know when something is not, I don't have enough of something. It's that balance that our
Mhm.
bodies just require, that if I don't have it, especially if I've been outside working all day and sweating and coming in, I know I need a little bit of sugar or I need some fat or something just to bring that energy level back up.
Right.
It's amazing how if we just learn how to listen to our bodies, they'll tell us everything we need, right?
Yes. I think it was 4 years, actually, next week will be 4 years. But I can feel once everything was removed from me for so long, or at least like a year, it's easier to see, I think, at least for me, it's easier to see like those things I was missing and
Yeah.
identify, because it became almost normal. Like I talk to people now and like, oh, I just had a headache, or my joints are hurting, or I was a little, it's like that's not normal. Like it's normal to them, but after you're clean for so long and you're feeling good, like, oh, it's easier to listen to those signals, I think, once it's not normalized.
You feel it again. So you go through all of this, and then you, on the other end, you become a health coach. So what,
Yeah.
you know, how's that? You go from literally being in a wheelchair, um,
Hmm.
not being able to see out of your eyes fully, not having any energy, and now you are like up on your feet. And so talk about that transformation.
So I went to school, I was a special ed teacher for a long time, and then I ended up staying home. The plan was to just stay home during the preschool years, and when they're at school, I'll be at work and everything's perfect. And then then I got too sick to go back to work. And then, so that lasted like 8 years. And then by that point, Gracie was getting more and more sick. So then I couldn't go back again. And during that time, people started asking me like to help them. And then I'm like, I like to read. I'm kind of like an information junkie. So I'm learning all these things and I'm connecting it back to what I went through. It's like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. And people are asking me and I'm just, all right, this feels good. And this person's seeing results. So I went to IIN and just kind of put some finishing touches on and got certified, and here I am.
Yeah. So, I mean, mine's similar. I started all of this, my YouTube channel, my website, everything, because I kept on having people, because my weight loss story is I basically lost half my body weight, you know? And because of that, you know, you get a lot of questions. What did you do? Because everyone wants, like, they want to find out it was the easiest thing in the world so they can do it, right?
Right.
But, you know, I felt probably similar to you, like you're having a lot of the same conversations and whatnot. So I was like, well, what if I can start putting this information into something that is, you know, if my friends and family are asking these questions, I'm sure there's people all over the world that could probably use this information and whatnot. But so yeah. So how does your coaching work? Like did you have a specific style? Do you have a specific area of focus given your history? You know, I imagine you've got a certain expertise that other people just don't have.
Yeah. So typically I help women with kidney and autoimmune diseases. So we want to optimize their kidney function, boost their immune system. And usually I start by working with somebody for about 3 months, and then we go from there. Lately, I've actually had a lot more people with digestive issues like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, things like that. So it's not like one thing, but yeah, my big focus is autoimmune and the kidney diseases.
Great. And so how does it work? Someone contacts you, and then how do you work with a client? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, so they just reach out. We do a 15-minute phone call, and I find out a little bit more what's going on. And then what we'll do is we'll schedule a longer one to kind of take a deep dive. We'll go into their history, what they've been doing, what they're looking for, and then we make a decision from there.
Great. So I've got someone who couldn't make it today, but they had a question. And if anyone else has any questions, now's a good time to throw some out, because we can kind of get into that shortly. If you have anything you want to ask Kim while we've got her. But I've got this one person, Moolah Baby is their YouTube name. And they wrote me and they said, I really want to go whole food plant-based, but I wonder if Kim or myself, and I can't, give some advice about this particular thing. They have osteoporosis and kidney stone issues. Doctors keep trying to force me to take drugs for my bones. I've seen what it's done to my sons and my friends. I'm sick and I'm stuck in bed from the pain and have rheumatoid arthritis from it. They didn't really ask a question, but that's their challenge. Any thoughts on that?
So I guess as a challenge, I'm wondering if her challenge is how to go whole food plant-based, or sometimes people say, you know, what specific foods do I have to eat? And
I think it's maybe they're probably wondering if they actually have to listen to their doctor and start just taking all the medications, or if it's something that, you know, potentially diet can fix, which I think we all know the answer is probably, or at least it'll help out a lot. And that's
it will not hurt, and it could.
My blanket answer is always just like, it won't hurt you to start eating healthy.
Right. And after everything else you've tried, it hasn't worked. So what are you willing to try next? How badly do you want to avoid those medications? So, I mean, ultimately, the power is in your hands. I mean, it was in mine. I said enough was enough, and I asked a real question: am I going to die if I don't do this right now? I mean, his response was, you know, you're going to be on the transplant list if we don't get this fixed in 6 months. And but I'm not going to say don't follow your doctor. You're
No, obviously.
an MD.
I think
There's things you can do, and your body can heal. Like, if I can put any message through here, your body it does things that we don't understand. I think we give too much power to what we do know, and we're not looking at all the things we don't know. So, like, doctors will give us a Band-Aid, but they're not the ones that fix the cut. Our body fixes the cut, but we have to give it what it needs. It needs trace minerals, it needs phytochemicals, it needs antioxidants, and it needs a lot. And we have to clear those detoxification pathways, especially in the liver and in the kidneys. So if I can give any piece of advice to that person, it would be to, especially if you have stones, significantly reduce the fats in your diet. And then the animal-based proteins. And depending on how many plant-based proteins you're doing, it's hard to give a concrete answer because there's too many variables and nuances, especially with the differences in kidney diseases. But start with that. If you're get rid of the alcohol, get rid of the caffeine. I know that's a hard one for people to let go of, but if you are ready to hit it hard, those are some of my best suggestions, to just general ones. And if you can't do it all right away, don't do it all. Pick a goal of, I'm going to decrease, I don't know if you want to pick coffee. I'm going to do half decaf, half regular for a week, and then go from there. So a lot of time, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and my wife's version of that, because they just had her like doing various elimination diets where it's like, well, take 2 weeks and just cut out this and see how you feel. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't change, okay, so it's probably not that. Maybe it's this, right? Or groupings of things, right? To try to cut it out. Like a day is not going to let you know. And a week, what I would say is even probably not going to let you know. It's close, but it's like after a week, it's like your body's now into a rhythm. It's like 2 weeks was what she found really let her know if something was helping or not. And then sometimes it's combinations of things too. But I love what you said too. And I think we know this because we've read all this stuff and we follow this stuff, but it's like, the food is fuel is medicine. I think of like, if your body is a house, if you try to build your house with crappy building materials, what do you think is going to happen to your house?
Yeah.
And then, but then here's the thing, and say your house is built on crappy building materials, which a lot of us are children of the 80s and 90s. No, it's no one's fault. This is the way it was. Mm-hmm. This is another weird metaphor. I have the crappiest bicycle, but as parts start to fall off of it, I've replaced it with better parts. And now my bicycle doesn't look great, but it is a beautiful bicycle because I started off crappy, which is what my body was. Mm-hmm. And I've been adding good stuff to it as I went along, right? I'm going to bring in the better bricks and mortar and fill it up. And that's really what it is like when you're talking about like the antioxidants and fiber and all these things, those are like your building supplies for your body. And it doesn't have to feel like homework. It doesn't have to feel like torture. There's so many delicious ways to eat this food, right? I think we all, for those of us that do it, I think so many people think it's a torturous way to eat and we're punishing ourselves by eating this way.
They do. A lot of it is mindset. These thought patterns and behaviors that we have that really have to be looked at more closely. And when you can do that, when you can bring that out in somebody and they're like, oh wait, yeah, that makes sense.
Someone just left this great comment. Roman says their body, a few months ago, they lost their kidney function, improved from their GFR. I don't know what that is, from 45 to 77, and lost enough weight to go off 3 of your 4 blood pressure medications. I assume is what.
Good job. Yeah.
It's not nothing. It's huge. And like Kimberly's saying, it's like always, be in consultation with your doctor. What I really loved what you said earlier, Kim, was that idea of like, hey, can I have 30 days and give this a shot? And, as long as it's not going to kill me, like, what can I not take and try this instead?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's always that, right?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Anyway, throw more questions or comments or share your own stories in here while we still got Kim for a bit. But I wanted to ask you, because people always want to know this kind of stuff. What are some of your, like, what are your go-to meals that you and your husband enjoy in particular, but yet that also, especially for those watching with kids and young kids like you've got and I've got, our kids are around the same age. What are some of the things that they either will actually ask for, or at least when you make, they don't go, ugh?
Yeah. So it's changed. Like I said, we did this slowly and systematically, and there was some tough love in there. I'm not saying it's easy getting a kid to switch, but there's some grace and there's some tough love. For breakfast, we always do a smoothie. I get up, every morning I make their smoothies. I make 4 of them. And then my kids, 2 of the 3 are homeschooled, so we eat a lot of potatoes here. They'll do a lot of potato type things for lunch. Easy, honestly, I don't have time to make big fancy things, so I always have a bowl of fruit on the counter, sometimes like 3 of them. So they'll grab their clementine or grab their apple, grab their banana. I make oatmeal raisin cookies that I always have those available. We don't eat gluten, so I'll have some loaves of bread made.
What do you make? You make your own gluten-free bread?
Yeah.
What's the base of it? My wife's gluten-free, so I'm always on the hunt for a good recipe.
Oats. So for grains, we stick to oats and millet. And I actually, do you know Anthony Williams, medical medium? He has a good, just a general bread recipe that he uses. And like yesterday, my daughter took a slice and she put it on our waffle maker. And it was actually really good. She put pizza sauce on it. I was like, oh, wow. So they're actually getting more creative than I am.
Oh, good.
So I'll do that. For dinners, a lot of times I'll do my husband will say, what do you want? And let's just do it like one of your mishmash bowls. So he's the one who started this. He'll take all of our leftovers, or we have a garden and there'd be like all this fruit, or we'd have veggies and fruit from the CSA. I was like, I don't know what to do with all this and I'm too tired. So he just started like throwing stuff into bowls and putting a sauce over it, like hummus or some sort of oil-free thing you make. And it was good. It just tied it together. In the beginning, I was looking for, okay, I am one who needs a recipe. So I would go look at Buddha bowls or burrito bowls. And so I have my recipe book, and I keep them all in like those paper holders, the plastic things.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it. Yeah, like folders. Like, not folders, but yeah.
So
sure.
Yeah. So I'll just, my kids will go in there and it'll help them, like, cause you can use a dry erase marker and they'll make the recipes and they'll just cross it off as they go. I like the system.
I love that.
I'm like, I don't know if I'm busy, like during the day, let's go in the recipe book and pull a recipe out, go pick something from this section. So anyways, we'll do like just concoctions, and a lot of times the base will either be potatoes or quinoa or brown rice. And then we just throw a boatload of vegetables. A lot of times I'll put beans on it.
Here's the thing. It's like, I know you're saying it's like, it's simple, it's not fancy, but like the foundation that's the foundation of cooking though, right? It's like, and what you're teaching your kids is so valuable, because it really is just that. It's more about like, here are the things that we need to make a meal. So it's like nutritionally balanced and also filling, some veggies, some kind of a grain, a protein source, a healthy fat, and a sauce of some kind to bring it all together. Right. And, for them to just be able to go in, okay, well, I'll do this and that. They're going to create all these kind of meals. It's a gift that's far better than teaching them how to read a recipe,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to be able to like tweak and find. And it's like, I find every week in our house ends with like a stir fry, because it's just like what's left in the fridge,
Exactly.
you
Stir
know?
fries and roasted veggies are always like, if I'm running short on time, chop them up, throw them on some parchment paper in the oven, and then throw them on a bowl of whatever we have.
Same with the soup. It's like cut up your sad vegetables, throw them in a pot with some broth or even just some water or diced tomato and with the juices, and you've got yourself a soup in about a half an hour. It's pretty simple that way. And it's the kind of thing where, it's hard to screw it up. You're going to learn more by doing it than like so many people hold themselves back, where I'm just like, just make a mess in the kitchen, make a couple bad meals and make them suck less every single time.
Yeah, suck less. That's much it. I was insanely type A. I had to follow a recipe or it might not be good. And that just kind of phased out. And all right, I just want to get the food in me that's going to sustain me and keep me not feeling like I did. And it needs to be quick, and I want to feel full. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, you've been great with your time. Just before we lose you, any last tips or tricks for people out there? And if you've got any other last minute questions, now is a good time to throw them out there. But what would be some of your, say, go-to tips and tricks for people that are maybe starting off this way? They've learned about, eating cleaner and whole food, plant-based and all that kind of stuff, but they're just like in the infancy of it. What would you leave them with?
Usually when I get this question, people want a specific what to eat. And that's kind of the easier part. I think the harder part is wrapping your head around this. And I can't tell you how many times I hear people, it's their mindset. So get someone in your corner. Like for me, it was my husband. And I didn't ask him, but now I'll tell people, who's on board with you? Who wants to see you succeed? Who knows the goals that you want to reach? Who can be your cheerleader? Who can help redirect you? And then planning.
Yeah.
Planning. So if you plan your meals, and then again, this goes back to mindset, that judgment and that shame piece that I see so many people feeling because they couldn't, like they've tried so many diets, and they don't say what's wrong with the diet. They say what's wrong with me. Letting go of that judgment and saying, okay, I messed up today. I'm just going to do it again tomorrow, kind of thing. And that's hard to do. But when you're dealing with disease this intense, there's a whole lot of mind stuff going on. So get a cheerleader, make a plan, and be okay if the plan doesn't go perfect.
Yeah. And I would say, like, I know just from the comments we get in a lot of the videos, there's a lot of people I know there's a lot of you out there that are doing this kind of on your own. You don't have a husband like Kim has, who is, going to cheerlead and chop the vegetables and shove them down her throat, when she can't get off the couch, Not all you have that. You have people that are just, they don't want to give up this or that. Or they just don't want to do it. And so there's a lot of you doing it out there on your own. So I would say, take advantage of the internet, take advantage of, community, comment sections like we have here on the channel, but also on my Facebook page, but anywhere else on the Forks Over Knives has a really great Facebook group as well. There are there's cheerleaders out there who will help you and be your cheerleaders. If you don't have like someone that in your life, that'll be that for you. Like, don't assume you have to do it on your own just because there isn't someone in your immediate circle that's not there.
Right.
There will be people out there for you, including us.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think that's really, it's so easy. I was lucky as well. Like, luckily when I finally got my acting gear, my wife, because of all of her health issues, had already kind of started going gluten-free and vegan, just on doctor's orders. And so in a way I followed her, but I was also doing it for my own health as well. So we had each other, you know, and we're
Yeah.
tag team in this kind of thing. But I know that's not the case for so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, so beautiful. I love the way you said it. It's like we're so we're so ingrained to thinking we're the problem as opposed to like the health system or like the food that's available for most people. So
Mhm.
yeah.
It's
What a
doable.
Blind Kimberly husband is not on board. Just he hasn't had the right tofu nuggets. That's what I
Right. I have people now that their husband's not on board with like the whole family doing it.
yeah. It's tough. It's very,
It,
very tough.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a depressing note to go out on.
No, there is ways. Again, that's where working with, I'm not trying to promote myself, but working
No,
with,
do it. This is the time to do it. Please promote yourself.
okay. Well, I haven't been saying this because I don't want to be like, come work with me.
No, do it.
It doesn't have to be anybody. That's where somebody like a coach to help, because I can't give a blanket statement to that because the dynamics of each family is so unique and
100%.
nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. So somebody like a coach will help you work through those things and figure out, again, those patterns, those thought patterns and behaviors and little things you can tweak. I mean, my husband was not, he was still eating meat when we first did this. He's like, he likes to work out and go to the gym and, you know, he needs his protein to be big. Now he sees like it's not that. But at the time, he was feeding me all that stuff because that's what I needed. But it did kind of morph into the whole family. But there are people, and I've been a part of like different Facebook groups. If you're part of a church, there can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be your spouse. It could be a sibling. And again, that's something it's hard to say. Not knowing.
Yeah, it's tough. But I've got down in the description below, I do have Kimberly's information for your health coaching services. So if anyone wants to contact Kimberly, please. You're being very humble, but you should be promoting your stuff. And that's part of the reason I wanted you on here too, is because, you know, there are people out here who need that and they need a person like you in their lives, and whether or not, you know, it's you, the right fit, or for whatever reasons, but it's like just to know that that is out there and exists and is possible for people who unfortunately do have to go it alone for various reasons. Ruben had another comment that his wife is trying his pumpkin soup that he's made. That's what I say. Just start cooking good stuff, and their nose is gonna be like, "Hey, well, can I try some of that?"
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened with my kids. So
Yeah.
they weren't eating this in the beginning either. So.
And also, Roman says, "Thank you for sharing your story. It's very inspirational."
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for your time. You've been very generous with it. And thank you for everybody that's been tuning in. We've had a really, really great turnout for this. And feel free to keep on. For those who missed it that are watching this after the fact, feel free to throw the questions down below in the comments. And either I'll try to check back in and find answers, or I'll send Kim the link so she can check in from time to time too. And
definitely
leave comments. But either way, like I said, I'll have Kim's information in the description down below. I think it's there now, but if not, I'll put it in there right after this is done being live. And thanks again, Kim.
Thank you. I'm so glad there's people doing this and promoting it and sharing the stories because they are so profound. And I didn't have this like when I was sick. So I think it's great what you're doing. I love it.
Oh, well, it's all because of people like you and people like everyone watching and listening why I'm doing this. And I'll keep doing it as long as you're all here. And I appreciate your coming in with your story because it's very different from any of the stories we've had so far. A lot of it's focused like primarily on weight loss, right? But so it's nice to have one from someone who like wasn't, you know, suffering from weight issues on the onset of it. And just because it's still that I think a lot of people look at, you know, you go whole food plant-based, you lose weight and you feel great, but it's like, it's not just, it just shows to the power of that it's not just about that. Yes, it does do that, but it's just, you know, because there's so many people that I think you a lot of people equate like, oh, someone's healthy if they're thin.
Oh yeah.
You know? But you know what I
I
mean?
was
It's like,
thin.
but you don't see what's underneath the hood, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what it is, and that's what's really, really interesting, that so many people that we look at are functionally healthy by appearance, but there's definitely some wiring underneath there that's not quite optimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you again for sharing your story. Thanks everyone for watching. And I have another one of these coming up next Wednesday with the YouTuber known as Broccoli Mom. So check that out. It'll be around the same time, 2:00 next Wednesday afternoon. Otherwise, keep in touch for more videos coming up. And Kim, thanks again. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. You as well.